The great glass windows of the Galactic Council's observation deck stretched from floor to ceiling, showing the vast emptiness of space. Ambassador He Jin stood with his hands behind his back, watching the stars. His black uniform, bearing Earth's silver insignia, made him stand out among the colorful robes of the alien diplomats. "Human ambassador, how much longer must we wait?" asked a tall, blue-skinned alien. Like many others on the deck, he seemed annoyed. He Jin checked his watch and smiled. 3 minutes, council member. The Soul's Pride will arrive exactly on schedule. The observation deck buzzed with whispers. This would be the first time any of them would see a human warship up close. Until now, Earth had only sent small diplomatic vessels to Council space. Many alien species thought humans were weak with outdated technology. He-Jin knew better. 30 seconds, he announced. The crowd pressed closer to the windows. Even the Council's supreme leader, Du Young, moved forward with unusual interest. His 4 eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of excitement in his species. Right on time, space itself seemed to tear open. A massive black shape emerged from the hyperspace portal. First came the bow of the ship, then more and more of it kept coming. The alien diplomats fell silent as the full size of the vessel became clear. The Soul's Pride was huge. Its dark hull absorbed nearby starlight, making it look like a piece of night had come alive. The ship was 15 kilometers long, with thick armor plates covering its surface. Large gun turrets lined its sides, and massive engine ports glowed with blue fire at its rear. "By the ancient stars," whispered Du Young. All 4 of his eyes were wide open now. "That cannot be a warship. It must be a colony vessel." He-Jin shook his head. "No, Supreme Leader. The Soul's Pride is a standard human battleship. In fact, it's one of our smaller capital ships." A series of gasps filled the room. The alien diplomats started talking all at once. Some pointed at the obvious weapon systems, the heavy laser arrays, the missile pods, the point defense turrets. Others stared at the thick armor plating that made their own ships look fragile in comparison. But where are the shield projectors?" asked a small, insect-like alien. "How does it defend itself?" He-Jin smiled again. "The entire hull is a shield projector, council member. The armor you see is just the outer layer of our defense system." The Soul's Pride moved with surprising grace for its size, taking up position near the council station. Its engines powered down to a soft glow, but even at rest, the ship looked ready for battle. Small patrol craft from the Council's security forces approached it, looking like toys next to the human vessel. "Ambassador," Du Young said quietly, moving closer to He-Jin. "Why did Earth not inform us you had such capabilities?" "You never asked," He-Jin replied simply. "We came to the Council in peace, seeking friendship. We showed you our diplomatic ships because those matched our intentions. And now, why show us this?" He-Jin turned to face the Supreme Leader. "Because it's time the Council understood that humanity isn't just another minor species seeking protection. We are equals, Du Young. Perhaps it's time for some new trade agreements that reflect that reality." The Supreme Leader's skin changed color slightly, a sign of stress in his species. He looked back at the battleship, then at the human ambassador. "I will call an emergency council session," he said. "We have much to discuss." As the alien diplomats filed out of the observation deck, He-Jin stayed behind. He watched the Soul's Pride, its dark hull now reflecting the light from a nearby star. He took out his communicator and sent a simple message to Earth Command. "Phase 1 complete. They've seen it. They're scared. Begin Phase 2. The human battleship hung in space like a silent guardian, its mere presence changing the balance of power in the galaxy. The real negotiations were about to begin, and humanity held all the cards. Human civilization had hidden its true strength for long enough. Now it was time to show the galaxy what humanity could really do. The emergency council chamber was in chaos. Hundreds of alien representatives filled the circular room, their voices echoing off the high ceiling. Supreme Leader Du Young sat in his raised chair, watching the panic spread. "Order. We must have order," he shouted, hitting his ceremonial staff against the floor. The sound echoed 3 times, and the room slowly grew quiet. On the main screen behind him, the image of the Soul's Pride floated in space. Its dark shape cast a shadow over the entire meeting. Many council members couldn't stop staring at it. Ambassador He Jin sat calmly in the human section, alone. No other human was present. He noticed how other species kept their distance from his seat, as if he had suddenly become dangerous. "The humans have deceived us," shouted Min Ki, the representative of the crystal worlds. His crystalline body sparkled with angry red lights. "They showed us weak ships while building monsters." "No deception," He Jin replied, his voice clear and steady. "You saw what we chose to show you. That was your mistake, not ours." The chamber erupted again. Du Young had to bang his staff 5 times to restore silence. A small furry alien named Yi Jun stepped forward. As head of the council's military committee, his opinion carried weight. "Supreme Leader, I have analyzed the initial scans of the human vessel. Its weapons." He paused, his fur standing on end. "Its weapons could destroy this entire station in seconds." More shouting filled the room. Some representatives demanded human ships be banned from council space. Others wanted to sign immediate peace treaties with Earth. A few simply sat in shocked silence. Ambassador He Jin, Du Young said, "Explain yourself. Why bring this weapon to our peaceful council?" He Jin stood up. The room went quiet again. "Supreme Leader, members of the council, let me be clear. The Soul's Pride is not here as a threat. It is here as a message." He walked to the center of the chamber. "For 2 years, you have treated humanity as children. You gave us poor trade deals. You restricted our access to important trade routes. You thought we were weak." He pointed at the screen. "We are not weak. We never were." "But such weapons," cried out another representative. "No peaceful species builds such things." "Peace through strength," He Jin replied. "Our history taught us this lesson well. The galaxy is not always kind to new species. We came prepared." A new figure entered the chamber, Security Chief Myray. Her uniform was neat and precise, like always, but her face showed worry. She whispered something to Du Young, whose 4 eyes widened. "Ambassador," Du Young said, "we have completed deep scans of your vessel. The power readings, they suggest your ship could fight our entire defense fleet alone." He Jin nodded. "Yes, but we won't, unless we must." The chamber was silent now. No one moved. No one spoke. "I propose," said Council Member Yi Jun, his voice shaking slightly, "that we revise our treaties with Earth. Perhaps we were too hasty in our earlier judgments." "Agreed," Du Young said quickly. Too quickly, some noticed. "Ambassador He Jin, would Earth be interested in discussing new trade agreements, and perhaps sharing some of your defensive technologies?" He Jin smiled slightly. "Earth would be very interested, Supreme Leader. But first, we should discuss those restricted trade routes, and the taxes on human goods, and several other matters." The council members looked at each other nervously. They all understood what was happening. The balance of power had shifted in a single day. Of course," Du Young said. "We will begin negotiations immediately. But Ambassador, please, are there more ships like this one?" He Jin looked at the screen, at the massive form of the Soul's Pride. "Supreme Leader," he said quietly, "there are always more ships." The council chamber remained silent for a long time after that. Outside, through the station's windows, the human battleship continued its quiet patrol, a dark reminder that humanity had joined the galactic stage, not as a minor player, but as a force to be reckoned with. And somewhere in the depths of human space, more ships waited, ready to remind the galaxy of that fact if needed. The technical briefing room was smaller than the main chamber, but it felt just as tense. Engineer Sang-Mei stood at the front, her white uniform crisp and clean. Behind her, a detailed hologram of the Soul's Pride spun slowly in the air. 20 of the Council's top scientists and military experts sat before her. Each one carried data pads, ready to take notes. Technical Lays and Jiho stood quietly in the corner, watching their reactions. "Let's begin with the basics," Sang-Mei said, touching a control panel. The hologram zoomed in on the ship's hull. The outer layer is 30 meters of reinforced steel alloy. But that's just the start. One of the alien scientists raised a tentacle. 30 meters? That's impossibly thick. The ship would be too heavy to move. Sang-Mei smiled. "Not with our engines. But let me continue." She tapped the panel again. "Between each armor layer, we have energy fields. When something hits the hull, these fields absorb and spread out the impact." The hologram showed a simulation of a heavy laser hitting the ship. The beam scattered across the hull, its energy disappearing into the layers. "Impossible," whispered another scientist. "Simply impossible." Moving on to weapons, Sang-Mei continued. The hologram shifted to show one of the main gun turrets. This is a standard heavy cannon. It fires plasma shells wrapped in magnetic fields. One shot can punch through 20 kilometers of rock. Jiho watched as several aliens took nervous notes. Others just stared, their various appendages shaking slightly. "The point defense grid is equally impressive," Sang-Mei said. The hologram showed hundreds of smaller turrets across the hull. Each turret tracks and shoots down incoming missiles or fighters. The targeting computers can handle 10,000 targets at once. 10,000. Someone squeaked. "Yes, we believe in being thorough." Sang-Mei moved to the engine section. "Now about our propulsion system." "Wait," interrupted the head scientist, an alien named Yuri. Her scaled skin had turned pale. "Before you continue, is this your most advanced ship?" Sang-Mei looked at Jiho. He gave a small nod. "No," she said simply. "The Soul's Pride is 5 years old. It's a training vessel now." The room erupted in whispers. Yuri stood up, her scales now almost white with shock. "Training vessel, but its capabilities exceed our best warships by factors of hundreds." "That's why we're sharing this information," Jiho said, speaking for the first time. "You need to understand where humanity stands. We're not showing you our best technology. We're showing you our basics." Sang-Mei brought up a new diagram. "The ship's computer core is another point of interest. It can process more data in a second than most planets can in a year." "Stop," Yuri said suddenly. "Just stop." She looked at her fellow scientists. "We don't need to see more. I think we understand." "Do you?" Jiho asked quietly. "Do you really?" "Yes," Yuri replied. "Your people, you're not just ahead of us. You're playing a completely different game." Sang-Mei turned off the hologram. The room felt darker without it. That's a good way to put it. Humanity has faced many challenges in its history. We learned to be prepared. Very prepared. One of the younger scientists raised a hand. "But why hide this? Why pretend to be less advanced?" Jiho stepped forward. "Would you have treated us the same if you knew? Would trade deals have been fair? Would diplomatic relations have been honest?" No one answered. They didn't need to. "We came in peace," Sang-Mei added. "We still come in peace, but now you know we can defend that peace." Yuri stood again. "I must report to the council. They need to know." She paused. "They need to know everything." "Not everything," Jiho said. "We've shown you what we want you to see. Nothing more." The scientists filed out quietly, their data pads full of notes about technology that was already outdated by human standards. As the door closed, Sang-Mei turned to Jiho. "They're terrified," she said. "Good," Jiho replied. "Fear brings respect. Respect brings peace." Through the window, they could see the Soul's Pride still patrolling near the station. Its dark hull reflected the light of distant stars, a quiet reminder of humanity's hidden strength. And somewhere in the vast reaches of human space, newer ships, more advanced ships, waited silently in their docks, ready to remind the galaxy again if needed. Security Chief Myray's office was cold and plain. The only decoration was a large screen showing the Soul's Pride from multiple angles. Ambassador He-Jin sat calmly in a chair that was clearly designed for a different species, making it rather uncomfortable. "Explain something to me, Ambassador," Miray said, her silver scales gleaming under the bright lights. "Why now? Why show your true strength at this moment?" He-Jin watched as she paced around her desk. "Sometimes, Chief Miray, the best time to show strength is when others think you are weak." The security feeds on her desk showed various council members in heated discussions. Some were shouting, others were hiding in their offices. A few were already trying to contact Earth for private deals. "You've caused panic," Miray said. 3 trade agreements have been canceled. 5 mining colonies have requested immediate protection. The Merchant Guild is talking about doubling their insurance rates. "Good," He-Jin replied. "Change is never easy, but it is necessary." The door slid open, and Council Member Taiwan walked in. Unlike the others, he seemed calm, even excited. "Ambassador," he said, nodding to He-Jin, "I've just finished speaking with my government. We want to propose a military alliance with Earth." Miray's scales rippled in surprise. "Taiwan, you can't be serious. They deceived us all." "Did they?" Taiwan asked. He sat down next to He-Jin. "They showed us exactly what they wanted us to see. We saw what we wanted to see. That's not deception. That's good politics." He-Jin smiled slightly. This was going exactly as planned. "Chief Miray," he said, "would you like to know something interesting about the Soul's Pride?" She stopped pacing. "What?" "It's not alone." The room went quiet. On the security feeds, more council members were arguing. "What do you mean, not alone?" Miray asked slowly. "Look at your long-range scans," He-Jin suggested. "The ones covering the edge of your sensor range. Look carefully." Miray rushed to her console. Her fingers flew over the controls. Then she stopped. Her scales turned pale. "There are energy readings," she whispered. "Similar to your ship. But they're bigger." Taiwan finished for her. "Aren't they, Ambassador?" He-Jin nodded. "The Soul's Pride is, as we told your scientists, a training vessel. Would you like to guess what a real human battleship looks like?" Miray sat down heavily in her chair. "How many?" "Enough," He-Jin said simply. "But remember, we come as friends. We simply believe friends should be honest with each other." Taiwan laughed softly. "Honest? Yes, and now we can all be honest. No more unfair trade deals. No more restricted zones for human ships. No more treating Earth like a minor power." "Exactly," He-Jin said. "And those who become Earth's friends now will find us very generous allies." Miray looked at the security feeds again. More council members were rushing around, making calls, holding meetings. "The council will change after this," she said. "Everything will change." "Change can be good," He-Jin replied. "Earth hopes to help guide that change, for everyone's benefit." A new alert flashed on Miray's screen. "Supreme Leader Du Young is calling an emergency session. All members must attend." She looked at He-Jin. "You planned this all along, didn't you?" "Let's just say Earth believes in being prepared," He-Jin said, standing up. "Now shall we go see how the council wants to move forward?" "As equals, of course." As they walked to the council chamber, He-Jin's communicator buzzed quietly. "A message from Earth Command. Phase 2 complete. Begin Phase 3. He smiled. Soon, the galaxy would learn that humanity wasn't just strong. They were strategic, and they were here to stay. Behind them, on Miray's screen, the dark shape of the Soul's Pride continued its patrol. But now, Everyone knew it wasn't just a ship, it was a message. And the message was clear. Humanity was done playing small. The real game was about to begin. Captain Sunwoo stood on the bridge of the Soul's Pride, watching the stars through the main viewport. His black uniform was decorated with silver stripes that marked him as a veteran of Earth's space fleet. The bridge crew worked quietly at their stations, monitoring the Council space around them. "Captain," called out his sensor officer, "we're picking up a distress signal. Trading post at Sector 7 is under attack." "Pirates, sir." Sunwoo straightened. "Show me." The main screen lit up with images of 3 rusty pirate ships attacking a small trading station. The pirates were using old Council weapons, nothing special. But to the traders, they were deadly enough. "Sir," his communications officer said, "Council security is asking us to stay out of this. They say their ships are responding." Sunwoo checked the tactical display. The nearest Council security ship was 20 minutes away. The traders had 5 minutes at most. "Send a message to Ambassador He-jin," he ordered. "Tell him we're about to show the Council how humans handle pirates." The Soul's Pride's engines hummed to life. The massive ship turned with surprising grace, its dark hull reflecting starlight as it moved. "Time to target?" Sunwoo asked. 30 seconds, sir." In the Council station, alarms went off as the human battleship powered up its engines. Security Chief Myray rushed to her command center, watching in shock as the massive vessel moved. "What are they doing?" she demanded. Ambassador He-jin, who had been quietly drinking tea in the observation lounge, smiled. "Watch," he said simply. The Soul's Pride appeared near the trading post in a flash of light. It dwarfed the pirate vessels, making them look like toys next to a real ship. "This is Captain Sunwoo of the Earth vessel Soul's Pride." His voice boomed across all channels. "Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. You have 10 seconds to comply." The pirates, not used to such direct confrontation, panicked. 2 ships tried to run. The third opened fire on the human vessel. Their weapons didn't even scratch the Soul's Pride's paint. "Time's up," Sunwoo said calmly. "Show them what we can do. Minimal force." The human ship's point defense grid came alive. Precise laser bursts hit the pirate ship's engines, cutting them off with surgical precision. No explosions, no debris, no deaths. Just 3 dead ships floating in space. In the Council station, Mayray's command center was silent. They had just watched one of the largest ships they'd ever seen perform delicate surgery in space. "Impossible," one of her officers whispered. "Those guns should only be able to destroy, not do that." He-jin sipped his tea. "Earth believes in options, Chief Myray. Sometimes a sword can be used as a scalpel." On the Soul's Pride, Sunwoo was already organizing rescue teams. "Get those traders to safety. Medical teams ready to help any wounded. Engineering teams to secure the pirate ships." "Sir," his first officer reported, "Council security ships are arriving. They seem unsure what to do." "Tell them we're happy to hand over the pirates once we've secured them," Sunwoo said. "And make sure our medics help anyone who's hurt. We're here to help, after all." The entire operation took less than 10 minutes. The traders were saved, the pirates were captured, and the trading post was already being repaired by human engineering teams. In the Council station, the alien representatives watched in stunned silence. They had just seen a warship big enough to destroy cities perform a rescue mission with the precision of a surgeon. "Well," Myray said finally, "I suppose this answers questions about human combat capabilities." He-jin nodded. "And about our intentions, I hope. We build strong ships, yes. But we use them to protect, to help. That's the human way." The Soul's Pride returned to its patrol position, its dark hull once again a quiet guardian near the station. But now everyone saw it differently, not just as a weapon of war, but as a tool of peace. Captain Sunwoo returned to his chair on the bridge. "Send a full report to Earth Command," he ordered. And to Ambassador Heijin. Already done, sir, his communications officer replied. Ambassador Heijin sends his thanks. He says this was very educational for our council friends. Sun Gu smiled. Sometimes the best way to show strength was to show restraint. The council had just learned that humans could do both very well indeed. Security Chief Myray sat in her private office, staring at the files on her screen. Each one showed a different human diplomatic vessel that had visited the council in the past 2 years. She had ordered deep scans of the old sensor logs, and what she found made her scales itch with worry. They were armed, she whispered to herself. They were all armed. The door chimed, and Ambassador Heijin entered with Council Member Taiwan. Finding interesting things in the old records, Heijin asked politely. Myray looked up. Your diplomatic ships. They weren't just carrying ambassadors, were they? Those weird energy readings we detected, they were weapon systems in disguise. Of course, Heijin said, sitting down. Did you think we would send our people out unprotected? Taiwan laughed softly. Clever. Very clever. Even your smallest ships could have defended themselves. Myray pulled up more images, and these trade ships that visited last month. The ones we thought were so primitive. She paused. They were warships too, weren't they? Every human ship is capable of defending itself. Heijin explained. It's a basic design principle. We learned that lesson long ago. A new alert flashed on Myray's screen. Her eyes widened as she read it. Our long-range scouts just reported in, she said. They found evidence of our defense network. Heijin suggested. Yes, I suppose you would find it eventually. Humans believe in layers of security. Taiwan moved to look at the screen. By the ancient stars, how many ships do you have out there? Enough, Heijin said simply. But remember, we're not here to threaten. We're here to trade, to learn, to grow. We just believe in being prepared. Myray brought up a map of known human space. These readings suggest you have more ships than the entire council fleet combined. And better ones, Taiwan added. After seeing what the Soul's Pride can do. The door chimed again. Engineer Sang Mai entered, carrying a datapad. Ambassador, she said to Heijin, Earth Command has approved sharing the Level 2 technical specs with our new friends. Myray sat up straight. Level 2. What was Level 1? What we showed you yesterday, Sang Mai said with a small smile. The basics. She placed the datapad on Myray's desk. As the security chief read, her scales turned pale again. This can't be right, she stammered. These power readings, the weapon systems, the defensive capabilities, all accurate, Heijin confirmed, and all available for discussion with our allies. Taiwan looked at the pad over Myray's shoulder. His eyes got bigger with each page. My government needs to see this, he said quickly. We need to revise our alliance proposal immediately. Many governments will want to, Heijin said. Earth welcomes peaceful cooperation with all species. Myray put down the pad. The council won't be the same after this. Everything we thought we knew about power balance, about military strength. Sometimes change is good, Sang Mai said. It brings new opportunities. On the main screen, the Soul's Pride continued its patrol. But now, Myray saw it differently. Not just as a powerful ship, but as a small sample of what humanity could really do. What happens next? She asked quietly. Heijin stood up. Next, the Council realizes that treating Earth as a minor power was a mistake. Next, we establish new relationships based on mutual respect. And next, he smiled. Next, we show you what real cooperation with humanity can achieve. And if some species don't want to cooperate, Taiwan asked, then they miss out on the benefits of working with us. Heijin said, we're not here to force anyone. We're here to help those who want to work together. As they left Myray's office, The security chief looked once more at the technical specifications on her pad. The Soul's Pride was just the beginning. Humanity had changed the game, and they had done it without firing a single shot in anger. The real question now was, who would be smart enough to join them as equals, and who would be left behind? The main council chamber looked different today. The usual bright lights were dimmed, and the massive screen behind the Supreme Leader's chair showed a live feed of Earth's solar system. The Soul's Pride floated in the background, its dark shape now a familiar sight to all. Supreme Leader Du Young stood at the center of the chamber, holding the council's ancient seal. Before him, Ambassador He Jin waited calmly. The room was packed with representatives from every spacefaring species, all watching in silence. "The council has voted," Du Young announced, his four eyes blinking slowly. "With a majority of 93%, we accept Earth as a full member of the Galactic Council, with all rights and privileges of a first-rank civilization." He Jin bowed slightly. "Earth accepts this honor with gratitude." "Honor?" someone whispered in the crowd. "More like they forced our hand." Security Chief Mai Ray, standing near the main doors, smiled to herself. If they only knew what she had learned in the past few days about human capabilities, they wouldn't whisper. They would run. Furthermore, Du Young continued, the Council accepts Earth's proposal for the new Defense Cooperation Treaty. All member species will have access to basic human defensive technologies in exchange for fair trade agreements. Engineer Sang Mi, sitting in the human section, exchanged looks with technical liaison Jai-Ho. The basic technologies they would share were still centuries ahead of what most Council species had. But the real advanced stuff, that would stay safely in human hands. Ambassador He Jin, Du Young said formally, "Would you like to address the Council?" He Jin walked to the center platform. His simple black uniform stood out among the colorful robes around him. "Friends," he began, "today marks a new chapter in galactic history. Not because of shows of force, not because of fear, but because we finally see each other clearly." He gestured to the screen showing Earth's solar system. "Humanity comes from a harsh world. We learned early that peace must be protected. That strength and wisdom must go hand in hand." The chamber was completely silent now. "We built our ships not to conquer, but to defend. We hid our strength not to deceive, but to find true friends. Those who would see us as equals even when they thought we were weak." Council member Taiwan nodded from his seat. His species had been one of the few to treat humans fairly from the start. Now they would benefit greatly from that wisdom. "Today," He Jin continued, "we stop pretending. Earth brings its full strength to the Council. Our ships will help patrol trade routes. Our technology will help defend peaceful worlds. Our knowledge will be shared with those who share with us." Captain Sun Wu's face appeared on a smaller screen, reporting from the Soul's Pride. "Ambassador, the first joint patrol fleet is ready. Council ships are taking formation with our vessels now." Images flashed on the main screen. Council security ships flying alongside human vessels, their crews working together. It was a powerful symbol of the new order. "But remember," He Jin said, his voice growing serious, "what you have seen is only the beginning. Earth believes in peace through strength. We will defend that peace with everything we have." Mai Ray watched as some council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. They had all seen the reports of what just one human training ship could do. As the ceremony ended, Engineer Sang Mi approached Jai-Ho quietly. "Should we tell them about the new ships?" she whispered. Jai-Ho shook his head. "Let them get used to this first. When the next generation of battleships comes out." He smiled. "Well, that's for another day." He Jin finished signing the new treaties, each one marking a major change in how humanity would interact with the galaxy. As he wrote the final signature, his communicator buzzed silently. "A message from Earth Command. Final phase complete. The game has changed. Well done." The Soul's Pride began its sunset patrol, its hull gleaming in the light of distant stars. But now it wasn't alone. Council ships flew with it, learning, watching, adapting to the new reality. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, not as conquerors, not as servants, but as guardians of a new peace, a peace built on mutual respect, backed by quiet strength, and promising a future brighter than any star in the cosmic night. The game had indeed changed, and humanity had changed it without firing a single shot.